Right, we're at a monumental stage. The last plank along the sides is about to be fixed. So I thought I'd celebrate this with a video to show. Now, the other problem we're getting is I'm getting to the end of my first tube of this stuff. It's used up pretty much the whole what size is it? 532 milliliter bottle of Gorilla PVA glue to fix all these planks on. Once this stage is done, the boat will progress off of the building board. Because it will no longer need to be sitting on there to progress the next stages. Really, the building board is to hold everything in place so that we can get in a rigid structure, so we can get the planks put on and get the whole thing as a solid lump where everything's holding everything else together. So we do the edge of the last plank, because we've got to join all the edges together. Now, this last plank has got no shaping whatsoever. It's the full width plank all the way along. I've deliberately done this so that you know, it retains a nice sort of feel, and you got the full structure to work with when it comes to fitting the bulwarks on and all the other pieces. You know, having a sturdy last plank makes all the difference. You might say that I'm wasting glue, but it's actually quicker and easier to put the glue on the plank and then stick the plank on than it is to try and put glue on each of the individual ribs. What tends to happen if you do that is the glue runs down the rib, and then you have a lot of clean-up work to do before you can fit the next plank. So rather than do all that, it's easier to use a bit more glue than's absolutely necessary on the plank. It also gives a good layer of glue on the inside of the boat to give it a bit more structural integrity. Right, that's the glue on the plank. Plank then sits in position somewhere around there. Use a couple of these clamps to get it roughly in position. And then we'll use the big clamps to make sure it's fitted tight in there. Sure it's pushed well up against the next plank. As you see, this is the messy bit. You've got glue dripping, which could be avoided, but it's actually easier to clean it up afterwards than it is to at the front end. We're just going to make sure it's tight to the next plank. A lot of this will be actually trimmed off later, and we just need to make sure it's good to the shape of the boat, because we do have a lot of curve out this way at this end of the boat. Right, now to fill in with lots of little clamps. I'll have a big job when I finish cleaning all the glue off these clamps. There's quite a few of them have got a fair bit of glue splatter on them. Since this is the last board, I have plenty of clamps because I've got all the ones from the other side as well, so I'm not going to stint. The other thing I've done is the wood from this last plank is very slightly thicker than most of the rest of the planks. It just gives me a bit more meat around that area, this area of the boat. It will be shaved down on this joint, but off now. I'm going to replace with these because they're a bit smaller. Don't stick out so far, so don't poke my eyes out on them. This last plank's pretty much getting nipped in tight at every couple of inches with these clamps. Just make sure this top plank is a nice secure base to join the deck to, and all the side trim and everything that goes in this area. This is one of the few areas of the boat you can actually get a good number of clamps on. The rest of the time you're trying to get between the ribs, and it's quite a task to get lots of clamps on to make sure these planks are tight. But in a couple of hours this will be dry, and then we can proceed with the next stage, which will be getting it off the building board and making a stand for it. Because all of the rest of the work, this hull's going to have to sit in a stand just to keep it stable to work with, really. go. Stick that one on there to make sure that sits. As you see, a fair bit of glue on some of these clamps because it does drip. Most of that drips down onto the building board or onto the clamps. So we'll do a fair bit of cleaning up. Once this hole is off the blocks, so to speak, we can have a good tidy up, pick up all the bits of glue and word shavings, and that'll come off. We'll move it out of the way. Workbench will get a good clear up, ready to start the next hole. It's now a very pleasing shape down this thing. The transition between curve in like that and curve out like that, I think is about as smooth and nice as you can want. So there we go. Last plank glued up.